Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas. I'm Marie Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry coming to you from two socially distant studios at the edge of the Great Red Divide. Coming to you every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. on our live stream. Also on all podcast networks, platforms, and the Demcast USA network, and on YouTube. We bring you the messages of democracy, the Democratic Party, and progressivism so that you can learn everything we know to help us advance our country. And Murray, today we're going to talk about something near and dear to all of our listeners, and that is the COVID relief bill. And I hate to call it a stimulus bill, Murray, because we don't need to stimulate the economy. We need to stimulate people's households. So
Yeah, well,
let's
the
talk
last
about
time
that,
we
shall
mentioned
we?
this was last week when it was sitting on the president's desk. And initially, they had planned on doing a big signing on Christmas Eve. He had a desk ready and he changed his mind. And we all know that's not unlikely at all and that he's a fickle fellow. I'm surprised he even knew there was a bill, considering all he can think of is the fraudulent election, supposedly, and how people don't like him. Although that's hard to imagine that, he doesn't know that by now. But and it was approved by both parties. It wasn't great. It wasn't everything that it needed to be, but it was still something that would give aid. It would have allowed unemployment assistance to continue without a lag, funded the government, and he had a temper tantrum and said he wasn't going to sign it. But then he did golf with Lindsey Graham, who said it was a good idea. And then he throws in this $2,000 thing. So, long story short, he signed it on Sunday night. By signing this bill on Sunday night, he guarantees 600 additional dollars for certain people that fit into different criteria and extends unemployment benefits for those who are independent workers, gig workers, those sorts of folks. So that's really kind of what went through with that bill. And I do want to make a note here. There's a lot of complaining from him about the um, different countries that were getting aid. That was just in the government funding bill, and he requested those countries. So I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Murray, anytime the government or Congress passes, and it's both houses, Congress is both houses, both the Senate and the House of Representatives. And anytime our Congress passes an omnibus bill, it's going to be filled with pork. And probably the most famous piece of pork was the infamous Bridge to Nowhere. So this is not unusual to have weird spending like this. It's careless and reckless at times. And we have a vested interest in protecting our investments in foreign countries. So, yeah, we always build money in to give to other countries and to our rich people that we borrow from China to give to our rich people that all of us will have to replace. But we'll talk about that on another day because right now we need to talk about what this means for people because people are desperate. I I can't tell you, how desperate I've seen people become that have no food in their house. Um, I told you when I was running for office, I came up to a lady's house and and I talked about this way in our first season. Um, whose husband had left within the last few months and had emptied the bank accounts, taken the cards. She couldn't get to work. She was using Ubers, which is very expensive. Um, it was a very difficult time for her, and her kids were having popcorn and Kool-Aid for food. That's what she was down to. That's how she was feeding her family. And this is not an uncommon I'm too broke to feed my kids meal. It's all too common right now. And luckily for her, I was able to connect her not only with the local micro pantry, which was within walking distance from her house, but also to the food pantries in the area that could help her and help her learn how to get SNAP and other benefits that she desperately needed just to be able to take care of her family. So, I think about her all the time and I wonder how she's been doing. And I keep meaning to stop by her house and knock on the door and just say, "Hey, I was thinking of you. How are you?" Because these are desperate times. And the people I met 3 years ago, 2 years ago, that were so desperate then, I
And
can't
that's not
imagine what their
anything
lives are
compared
like
to what it
now.
is right now. Shoplifting at grocery stores
Right.
has gone up 35%. I can't tell you how many food banks and food pantries we have around here, and those lines
Yeah.
extend forever, and there isn't enough. I
Yeah.
mean, our Democratic organization donated as our Christmas that we do every year. We donated to the Northern Illinois Food Bank, and
Right.
it's not it's everyone who's in this boat. It's the waitresses who are not making tips or getting any unemployment because their restaurants are closed. It's everyone you can imagine that's facing this, and so we have to think of it in terms of how much money this was in general. So they decided on $600 because the Republicans said that that's the amount that they would give would be 600. So it was what was able to get passed, which is what happens far too often in legislation, but it has to compromise somewhere. And it finally got passed. But then when the president said that 600 is not enough, he said no. It's not. Nancy jumped on that. Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, and said, "We will put a bill on your desk on Monday, President. That will be $2,000 in the pockets of the Americans." Yes, sir.
Right. Right.
And so that gave some hope. But what it really does is it puts everything in a really interesting political position, right? We know that Donald Trump is losing power. All lame duck presidents lose their influence, they lose the hubbub around them, and he won't even acknowledge that he's a lame duck. So he's desperately clinging to the attention, to the spotlight, to the
Murray.
interviews.
Murray, this is exactly why he put off signing the bill. This is exactly why he used the $2,000 because he just pulled that out of his butt. It could have been $5,000. He just wanted the headlines, and he wanted the headlines. He wanted to be at the top of the headlines on Christmas, not the birth of Christ, not the celebration of Christmas, not, stay home, we have COVID, nothing. He wanted to be at the top on the first thought people had when they woke up in the morning and the last thought before they went to bed at night. That's the kind of egomaniac that Donald Trump is.
But why did he
Now,
hold off on the bill? Here's the thing. I don't get
because
it.
it
He
was
could have.
headlines, Murray.
Oh, yeah, he could have. He could have signed it on Christmas Eve and had every headline Santa delivers $600 in stimulus. So there would have been a huge upside. On the downside, so what was the downside here, right? The downside is that people got less money. The Republicans stayed happy, but he doesn't care about the Republicans staying happy. In fact, his whole
No,
purpose is to destroy the Republican Party or what's left of it as he heads his way out the door.
right.
The $2,000 wasn't for the people. It wasn't done in a caring or empathetic gesture. It
Nope.
was done to screw over Mitch McConnell and the
Yes.
senators because
Yep.
they now have no choice but to put this out. You
Yeah.
have a bipartisan passage of this, then you
Yeah.
have a bipartisan support in the Senate. The president that you have done everything to enable and everything he has said, except for this first veto, you've done everything that he said. You're going to say no to this now. And
Right.
Loeffler and Perdue both came out and said that they were in favor of it and would vote for the $2,000 because they know they have to. I mean, they're in
Right.
such a precarious race situation that if Trump turned on them, uh, it would be awful. But I'm sure that puts McConnell in an untenable position because now they need 10 more. And we know we've got a few more senators who are willing to switch sides and vote for the 2000. So now Mitch looks impotent. Ha ha ha! Not like he isn't probably already, but it makes me
That's a
happy
lie.
to know that this puts Mitch in a horrible position and it just delights me.
Well, Axios is reporting that they do have 14 Republican senators on board with the $2,000. And as you and I talked in pre-show, it's not a dead issue. It's just that they didn't vote on the issue today. It was demanded that it be brought to the floor and voted on up or down without discussion. And Mitch, being that sly dog that he is, he's got to make sure he's got all of his ducks in a row. Murray, the thing is with Mitch McConnell and how he does everything is I think he's going to make sure it just barely fails. And that the senators that are the safest are the ones that vote no.
You might be
The ones that
right, but if it's like you
I really
said
am.
that I knew that there was a handful,
Yeah,
but I didn't think they had reached the majority. But if there are 14, then Mitch is going to have to swing three of them back to his side in
right.
order to do
And
that.
I think they can.
And this is a crux. This is the point. Do these Republican politicians use this moment as their breakaway from the direction of the Republican Party or from the president or from Mitch? So, really, they are actually kind of in a no win situation. No matter what they do, it's going to affect them negatively. And I
Murray,
think it's fabulous.
yeah.
I love it. The
Well,
only thing Trump has done in his 4 years that I am happy about, he fucked the GOP and Mitch McConnell. You
and
gotta say, hey, good for you, dude. You finally got one right. I'm okay with
and I
that.
think I read, and we talked about this early on, and I could have had the figures right, but I think in 4 years, like the majority of the 15-year-olds right now that will be voting in 4 years, or 14-year-olds are not white. So it ends the white majority of voters. And I kind of look up that statistic, but I think that that's correct. That this was like the last gasp of the old white party, right?
Nice.
And
That brings hope to the world as well.
well, it has to because we can't pretend. I'm reading Dying of Whiteness, and I know I keep referring to it right now or lately because it's just so stunning watching the white manhood being restored by a bushmaster and that sort of thing, why there's a proliferation of guns and so on, but that's for another day. And I'm thinking, yeah, dinosaurs in their last throes of life are probably fighting for everything. And I don't understand the fight to be relevant because of the color of your skin, but I do understand the fight to be relevant. And I think that's what we're seeing with Trump right now is he's trying to be relevant. So he's trying to jerk things around as fast and as much as he can and play all those puppet strings. And then in the background, you have Mitch McConnell, who's suddenly become a deficit hawk, who
We all
suddenly
knew they
decides that,
would. The only one who has consistently been a deficit hawk come hell or high water is libertarian Rand Paul. Everyone else is happy to spend as much as they can, taking in as little money as they can because trickle down economics works. That's a fantasy they all bought into.
yeah, yeah,
Makes them happy. And other than that, they will all claim there isn't money. Oh, well, guess what? There was just a study published by Sugar Puff. I can't think of the name of it, but I swear it was a real study that was done. And it showed that there was less than a 1% positive impact on the economy from the 2017 tax cuts. Remember the ones that favored the rich and
right.
corporations? Yeah, it didn't help anybody except increased our debt. So when we talk about
Well,
trillions of dollars,
yeah,
$12 trillion he has run up in 4 years with
4
nothing to
years.
pay for it. Kind of like he does in his usual businesses, runs up a lot of debt and then just decides he doesn't have to pay for it because he doesn't understand
Yep,
how money works.
yep.
And yet you are going to have this hyper partisan snit fit over a fantasy that is not true. It is. There is no, I don't know. There is nothing left that the Republican Party can do that would shock me in any way, shape, or form.
I
Nothing.
Oh, Marie, watching them try to manipulate this because Mitch McConnell, doesn't want anybody um, to have anything. You know, the Republican Party has taken away the bootstraps that they want us all to pull ourselves up with, especially their own supporters who have been duped again by the Trumpublicans, you know. And we have this thing right now. We have this issue going on right now where Mitch McConnell, who's now a deficit hawk, is going to convince at least 3 senators not to vote for this, right? And because he doesn't want people to have any more money, I can't. It would be not Mitch to push this through, you know, because let's face it, all he
No,
has
see,
to do is
here's what
make a
he's
few
gonna.
phone calls.
Right. If he wanted this to happen, it would happen, and I believe
It would have
so.
been done by now. If he
This is
wanted
my
it, they would have voted today.
Yeah, my prediction here is that he's going to be able to push enough members uh, to the other side, but get a compromise out of it. So, no, he will not do $2,000 with just the way the House passed it. It won't be clean. He will make sure that he finds a way to back end benefits for those donors and fans. Don't be surprised if that $2,000 check doesn't come with some hefty price tag. It will not go clear, and I think that's what he's doing. He is, in the House they didn't whip the vote. Kevin McCarthy let them make their own decisions based on their
Right.
own consciences.
Yeah.
Don't think that we'll see Mitch do the same thing. And he's if you get a check for $2,000, something nasty was given up to get you that.
You know, and you and I talked about this in pre-show. Is it going to be more funding for the wall? Is it going to be more funding for the myth of election fraud? Which every time they check it, they just keep coming up with more Republicans that have committed election fraud. To my knowledge, and I've read extensively about this, we have not found any Democratic benefit to election fraud. It's all been Republican. So I can't come up with one that I've seen or read about because I've been trying to find out is there any, and it's just not existent, except for people trying to plant more votes for Trump. And again, Murray, you and I have talked about this so many times. If we were going to steal an election, we would have put Mitch McConnell out of the
I
out of
mean,
the Senate.
honestly, think about it. The election that needed to be stolen was Kentucky. I am still not
Right.
convinced about how the polls. I totally believe it. It's not. I'm not claiming election fraud, but the polls were just kind of crazily off, and I guess people got to learn how to poll Kentucky better. But if we were
Well,
going to steal an election, we would have stole Kentucky, or at the very least, we would have stole states together, Senate, and come on, we'd have
we
stolen
would have lost
Joni
Wisconsin.
Ernst's seat. We'd have stolen, come on, we know
Yeah.
how important the Senate is because we and
Collins would
pray
have been
to.
gone.
I mean, I'm gonna say if by some chance we got a stimulus, part of that would go to donate toward Ossoff and Warnock. We
Oh my
are
God.
desperately
Murray,
in need of them, and not the Wall Street teat sucking, slime ball curling, ass wiping Barbie that we have as senators from the state.
well, Loeffler was never elected. And I'm not sure how not Sonny Perdue, I'm not sure how David Perdue got to be elected either. I mean, insider trading alone, if Martha Stewart can go to prison for it, I think those two should go.
But
And
Martha had a vagina, and back then we didn't,
so does, so does Loeffler, I
Yeah,
think.
now, but I don't. Well, that I don't know.
You're saying she was born without one?
No,
I don't know.
no, no, no. I'm just saying
Okay.
she resembles a horse. I don't know. Do horses have those parts? She's
Yes,
very
they do. That's how
horse,
they reproduce.
or an Afghan hound.
Afghan hound, I can see.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, oh my god, I'm
uh,
horrible. I'm sorry. I am such a horrible person to be making fun of someone's looks, and I do truly
listen,
apologize. But if I don't
every
make
time,
fun of
wait,
her looks, then I will
every
say
time,
really vicious, evil, true things about who she is as a person and her soul. So I think making fun of her dog-like match is probably best for everyone.
And I keep telling you, I don't know what's living on Rand Paul's head, but I don't think all of it's real. Just saying. I
So
don't think it's
basically,
all of
folks,
it.
this is what's going to happen. The bill is not dead. McConnell said, nope, I'm not going to bring it to the floor yet. I got to talk to my peeps. And the Democrats said, hey, no, bring it up the way it is. They wanted it to be brought as it is to the floor in order to allow. And then Sanders said, the only way I'm going to give you a vote on the Defense Act that we are going
Right.
to override Trump's veto is if you promise to bring it to the floor in the way it is been asked for, the way it is currently written. So there's definitely negotiations that'll be going on, and we still have that situation hanging over us from January 6th. We have Georgia, January 5th. There is so much going on over the next 2 weeks. And then I'm hoping the news cycle goes to a normal 24-hour news cycle.
Oh my
Um,
God. And
it'll be good
January
if it
21st.
does.
January 21st it should go. And it should go back to a 24-hour news cycle instead of a 10-minute news cycle. It's been an exhausting 4 or 5 years now, and a lot of people need a break from it. You have all this, plus you have, the ridiculous QAnon stuff, and people have time to invest in. I don't have time to invest in conspiracy theories, Murray. I've got enough to do. I don't know if people have time for this.
Right,
So,
if you if you invested a quarter of the time living in reality that we do in conspiracy theory land, we could solve a ton of problems. I'm telling you, because you take the creativity that comes behind superior conspiracy theories, right? That is
right.
some massively good brain thinking. But we could
Yeah.
hone that a little bit more realistically. I think we could solve a lot of problems that way, girl.
See, my husband used to be a big fan of the show 24. And every time I read excerpts from Parlor, I've never been on that site. I would not waste my time. But anytime I read some of their conspiracy theories, I think, oh my gosh, Jack Bauer, he's back in studio shooting another 24. It sounds like it's something right out of Hollywood. It's ridiculous. It's like worse than a dime novel.
And one
And
day we
I,
will do. We need to go deep dive. We've done it before on previous episodes, which you can find at Heartland Mamas, MAMAS.com, and also all on YouTube and wherever you get your favorite podcasts. This one was a good one. We talked about conspiracies and theories and how they sort of originate, and we'll do another episode coming up here in the
yeah.
new year on that. But we hope you understand a little bit more about what's going on and where things are. It's still up in the air and it's a crap show. We are not even sure when those checks will go out. But we do want to wish everyone a great day. We have a funny episode coming up on New Year's Eve, or at least I'm told it's going to be funny because I'm supposed to be funny. And
It's
I
going
don't
to be
know.
great. We're gonna talk about the bingo card each of us had, and did you have that square? So
And we're going to be
I'm
drinking.
gonna wear
We're
a special.
starting drinking. If you want a happy hour
Oh,
your
okay.
new
I'll
year,
do that.
be
Yeah,
ready.
wait, I've got my bottle right here, Marie. I told you. It's
See, she's got her
the
bottle. I'm
studio.
gonna need some sort of crown or fancy New Year attire. I don't know. Maybe
I'm
I'll
wearing a
maybe I'll
special.
put an owl on my head. I don't know.
There you
Whatever I
go.
gotta do.
I'm wearing a special T-shirt from one of the events that happened, and I can't wait to
All
talk
right.
about the event that was not on my bingo card. So,
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in again every Tuesday and Thursday, 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. You can
right.
hear us live. Please like, share, subscribe. It's really important that the more folks get to hear our voice, the more we have join us in our fight for fairness. Thanks
Right.
again.
Heartland Mamas, MAMAS.com. Find us anywhere you get your podcasts, Demcast USA, YouTube. We'll see you later. We'll see you Thursday. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye.